Hello, and welcome to Auto Be Careful, the place for car safety news and information. I'm Gene, and today we're going to talk about tires. I want to start with tires for a couple reasons. The first is I just navigated purchasing new tires for my vehicle, and I want to share what I've learned. But also, tires are one of the most important parts of any vehicle. They're the car's main point of contact with the outside world and can impact how fast it can accelerate, how quickly it can stop, and how much weight it can carry. There's a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. Let's talk about what to consider when purchasing new tires. The first thing you want to make sure you do is purchase the right size tires for your vehicle, similar to the way you need the right size shoes for your feet. The size of your tire is going to determine what type of tires are available for your vehicle. For example, the Michelin Cross Climate 2 that are a perfect fit for this Subaru Outback would not work on my other vehicle, which is a Mercedes-Benz GLS. That's because they don't come in a size appropriate for that vehicle. Now, if you're not updating anything else on your vehicle, the tire size on your new tires is going to be the same as your old tires, and it's one of the easiest things to find on your tires as it's printed right on the side. But if you don't have the old tire available, you can always find this information on a sticker that's inside the door sill on the driver's door. The measurement will typically start with P for passenger vehicle or LT for light truck. The first number is how wide the tire is, in this case 225 millimeters, followed by the height of the sidewall as a percentage of the width, in this case 65% of 225, and finally the size of the rim it sits on, which is 17 inches. Just before the rim size is the construction of the tire indicated by a letter. This is going to be one of three options: B, D, or R. With very few exceptions, you'll likely only find R tires. I've only seen B or D on spare tires. Let's move on to some of the more interesting pieces of information that you can actually decide on when purchasing new tires, starting with the load rating and speed rating. The load rating is an indicator of how much weight your tire can actually carry. This is a number where the higher number means more weight your tire can carry, and the lower number means less weight that your tire can carry. And it can be decoded using a chart that's generally available online. Although if you can't find it online, your tire will usually have the actual pounds it can carry printed on the side, although in a much smaller font. In the case of the Subaru Outback, the load rating for each tire is 102, which means that each tire can hold 1,874 pounds. Like most cars, this one has four wheels, so that means the total weight capacity of the tires is 7,496 pounds. Now this Outback, with nothing inside of it, weighs about 3,600 pounds. That means that I can carry roughly 3,900 pounds of people and cargo inside when traveling. If I'm traveling by myself, I can carry roughly 3,700 pounds of cargo in this Outback based on these tires. Although if I add more people, like 3 more adults, that number is going to go down closer to 3,000 pounds. Most of the time, you won't have to worry about this, although if you're taking a big trip to the hardware store, it can be important to keep in mind. The other thing to think about is that all vehicles will have their own specific load rating based on the other components of the vehicle, including the steering and suspension and other things. As an example, this Outback has a load capacity of 1,000 pounds, which is much lower than the number I previously quoted for the tires. Because the load capacity of the Subaru Outback is 1,000 pounds, if I take a trip to the hardware store with 3 other grown adults, the cargo that I can carry back with me is going to be close to 0 pounds. There's also a speed rating for your tires. Similar to the load rating, this can be decoded using a chart that's widely available online, which is important because unlike the load rating, it's typically not printed on the side of the tire in clear font. The speed rating is going to indicate how fast your tires can travel safely without falling apart or failing early. On this Subaru Outback, the tires are rated H, which translates to 130 miles per hour. Unlike the load rating, this one isn't accumulative, so having 4 tires does not mean that they will safely go 520 miles per hour. 130 miles per hour is going to be the maximum speed for this vehicle on these tires. Now, most modern vehicles will not allow a driver to get near the speed that's the limit of the tires, but some will, so this can be important to pay attention to. There are several other important pieces of information on the side of your tire, starting with the DOT, or Department of Transportation information. It's important to make sure that your tires have this DOT marking because it indicates that your tires comply with the U.S. Department of Transportation regulations. Also included in this information is the date of manufacture of the tire. This is in the form of an oval with 4 numbers inside. The first 2 numbers indicate the week of the year that the tire was made, and the next 2 indicate which year they were made. On this tire, the numbers are 2424. So the tire was made in the 24th week of 2024, which ran from June 10th to June 16th. Now the date on the previous tires was actually the reason I replaced them with these new ones, and I'll talk about that a bit later in this video. Next, we're going to talk about the uniform tire quality grading information. This information is super important, and it indicates how well your tire is going to be able to grip the road, how hot your tire can safely get, and how quickly your tire is going to wear out. Now these 3 pieces of information are actually graded on different scales. First, we're going to talk about traction. Traction is graded on a scale of AA being the best, followed by A, then B, then C. This is going to indicate how well your tire is going to grip the road, which can impact how fast you can accelerate, how quickly you can slow down, and how well your car is going to handle in corners. This is especially true when it's wet or slippery out. In this case, you'll see that the traction is rated at B. The next thing we're going to talk about is the temperature rating, which indicates how hot your tires can safely get. And this is rated on a scale from A being the best, followed by B, and then C. This can be really important, especially in hot climates. If you live in a place that gets especially hot, and knowing that roads can actually be hotter than the ambient air around you, a C-rated tire may not actually be the best fit for you because it is only safe up to 100 degrees. So if your weather gets to 110 degrees, and again, the roads are much hotter than that, this tire may not be safe for you to drive on. For these tires, you'll see that the temperature is rated at A, which is the best rating for this scale. The final piece is your tread wear rating. Tread is the bumpy part on the outside of the tire that works similar to the way your sneakers would. The faster your tread wears down, the sooner your tires need to be replaced. And this number indicates how quickly that is going to happen. The higher number means that the tires will last longer, and a lower number will mean that the tires will not last as long. For these Michelin Cross Climate 2 tires, you'll see that the tread wear is actually rated at 640. You'll also find the maximum air pressure a tire can hold, although this number is typically much higher than the pressure you should have in the tire. The tire should have a pressure recommended by that sticker that we discussed earlier in the driver's door sill, unless the tire cannot handle it, in which case do not use that tire on your car. In this case, you'll see that the tire pressure maximum is 51 psi, which is much higher than the maximum required by this vehicle, which is 35 psi. So this tire is a good fit for this car. There are a few other markings you may or may not see depending on your tire's capabilities. If you have tires made for slippery surfaces like mud and snow, it will either have a marking like this M+S, or if it's specifically geared towards winter driving, this 3-peak mountain symbol. Some tires, like this one, are directional, in which case the tire will show which direction it should rotate when the vehicle is moving forward. There are a few other considerations to think about when purchasing new tires. There are tires that are designed for summer weather, some that are designed for winter weather, some that work best in all seasons, some that are designed for sportier cars, and some that are designed for off-roader vehicles. You'll want to select a tire that's going to work best in the conditions that you'll be driving in, because taking a summer tire and putting it on a car that is going to be driving in winter weather can make your car difficult to handle and therefore unsafe. Once you've selected a type of tire that you want to purchase, you want to look at tire reviews to see what's going to work best for your specific preferences and use cases. Now that you've selected tires to install in your vehicle, let's talk about how to take care of them so that you can get the most out of them. The first thing you want to do is maintain the proper tire pressure for your vehicle. This is going to prevent your tires from wearing out early due to overinflation or underinflation. Overinflation is going to cause the center of the tire to wear out fastest, whereas underinflation causes the edges of the tire to wear out fastest. And this is because these are the parts of the tire that are most in contact with the road as you're driving. Similar to the way if you sit on the same part of a couch repeatedly, that part of the couch is going to wear out the fastest. Both of these conditions can also cause complete tire failure. The good news is most vehicles manufactured after September of 2007 have a built-in tire pressure monitoring system that will alert a driver if the tire pressure in their vehicle is too low. Although it's still important to check the tire pressure in your car manually, as the threshold can vary from vehicle to vehicle. Personally, I use an inexpensive tire pressure gauge and a tire inflator to check my tires on a quarterly basis. You can also find this equipment at many gas stations and check it on a cadence that makes more sense to you based on your specific needs. Another task to do regularly is to rotate the tires on your vehicle, which is switching the position of each tire on the car. This helps ensure even wear across all tires because if your front passenger tire typically wears out the left side of the tire fastest, moving it to a different position on the vehicle will help ensure even wear. This is a simple procedure that typically involves moving the front tires to the rear and the rear tires to the front, while also switching the left and right side of one of those pairs of tires. This task will look different between front wheel drive versus rear wheel drive and all wheel drive vehicles, but the general concept is the same. There are a few things that can complicate a tire rotation. The first is if you have different size rear and front tires. You can't take a larger rear tire and move it to the front. So in this case, all you can do is move the right tires to the left and the left tires to the right. The other thing that can complicate a tire rotation is having directional tires, meaning that the tire can only rotate in one direction when the car is moving forward. In this case, if you switch a right tire over to the left, it will cause the tire to rotate backwards when the car is moving forwards. So, in this case, you can only switch the front and rear tires with each other unless you want to take the tire off of the rim and move it to the other side on the other rim. Two other things to keep up with when maintaining your tires are tire balancing and wheel alignment. Tire balancing ensures there's not too much weight on any one part of the tire. Imagine walking around while swinging a heavy bag over your shoulder. This can cause you to be unstable. Tire balancing puts a counterweight on the other side of the tire to ensure that the weight is evenly distributed. Wheel alignment ensures that your wheels stay pointed straight. Over time, parts of your car can wear down, causing your tires to point outward or more inward. Wheel alignment ensures that the tires remain straight and cause even wear on your tires as you're driving down the road. Finally, let's talk about reasons you would need to get new tires. The most common are a puncture, too much wear, or old age. The first is a puncture. Your car's run over something sharp and now there's a hole in it. Depending on the location of the hole, your tire may be able to be repaired, but in some cases may need to be replaced, such as when the hole is too close to the side of the tire. This is because a hole near the side of the tire can compromise the tire's structural integrity. If this happens, it's time for replacement tires. The next reason to replace your tires is if they're too worn down. When tires are brand new, they typically come with 10/32 of an inch of tread depth, and they need to be replaced when they're worn down to roughly 3/32 of an inch. This is because the tread is critical to ensuring the tires have a good grip on the road. In wet, snowy, and muddy conditions, the channels of the tread are responsible for guiding these materials away from the tire to ensure the tire has a good grip on the road itself. Even in dry conditions, the bumps of the tire are designed to ensure that the tire has a good grip on the road, which is itself an uneven surface. Once your tires get down to 3/32 of an inch, it's time to get new tires. There are a couple ways you can check this. Most tires will have a built-in tread depth gauge that you can verify whether your tires need to be replaced or not. If the tire tread is even with this tread bar, it's time to replace the tires. You can also check this with a quarter. If you put a quarter in the tread depth and you can still see the top of George Washington's head, it means your tires need to be replaced. You can also check this with a tire depth gauge, which will give you the most accurate readings. Finally, it's important to replace your tires when they're too old to operate safely. Tires are made of rubber, which can get less flexible and crack over time, similar to an old balloon or rubber band. Neither of these are conditions that you want to have for the object that keeps your car on the road. Generally speaking, it's important to replace your tires when they're 6 years old or older, and this includes your spare tire. Even if your spare tire is not as exposed to the elements as your regular tires, it's still not something you want to have trouble with when you need it. As we discussed earlier, the tire manufacture date can be found on the side of the tire, so it's easy to determine when your tires are 6 years old and replace them. Well, we've gone over a lot, and I hope you learned something. Thank you for watching, and remember to click like and subscribe.